Good morning.
Twice, you can hear me? Round of applause for Hakim.
Yay.
Okay, so we just need to make sure I stay to 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I very smartly forgot to bring my watch today, but I will look at my phone. Okay, so I think we'll just jump into it tentatively, right? Entertainment begins now. Hi everyone, my name is Hakim, and today I'm not wearing any hats, but most of the time I am responsible for a few different things. One of these things being this event called Baca Kucha Petaling Jaya. Baca Kucha is Japanese for chit chat. Around Malaysia, there are a few Baca Kuchas. The oldest one being the one in Kuala Lumpur. I think they have done 19 events, but they stopped about 7 or 8 years ago. 7 years ago. They were run by the British Council, and aside from Baca Kucha in Kuala Lumpur, there is one in Kuching. They are the biggest one. In Kuching, things are just like, everything's bigger in Kuching. Every time they do it, I believe like 300 people attend this event. They pay 50, 60 ringgit and they get like a 3-course meal. Or I think, I'm not sure exactly what they get, but I know they get dinner and it's pretty fancy. So Kuching rocks in that department. Up in Penang, right around the time that we started, Baca Kucha Georgetown, I think it's called, also kind of spawned. But outside of Malaysia, around the world, 1,000 cities have Baca Kuchas. It came about with this idea in mind that everybody has a really interesting story to share. The more you do, the more interesting these stories are. But the originators were architects, and they wanted to hear all of these great stories from people that were designers. They found that these designers were very, very long-winded. They had really, really amazing work, but because it was so difficult for them to talk about where it came from, where it was going, what the motivation was, they realized they needed to do something about it. So this very, very famous architecture firm out of Japan, they said, you know what, I want the content, but I think I need to adjust the format. And the format that they gave this rule that whatever your ideas are, you need to present them in 20 slides that automatically, each slide will progress automatically every 20 seconds. So if you do the math, 20 times 20 is 6 minutes and 40 seconds. This becomes very interesting, right? You're like, oh, by the way, this is actually 20 slides that I'm going to be presenting to you guys, but I've taken out the 20 seconds. So I get to be a little bit more long-winded, and which is fun. But I practiced this for like a 6-minute, 40-second delivery. Now I get to talk a little bit more. And it's really, really fascinating. If you have ever read anything about creativity, for example, creativity works best when you give it constraint. The constraint actually, for those of you, I've heard some people talking about stoicism, the obstacle is the path. The obstacle is the way. More or less, paraphrasing. But the idea here is your creativity, it's not just a bad thing, it is also a limiting thing on what you can do, because you don't have infinite time, you don't have infinite resources, right? But you need to deliver something, and these creative constraints make the thing that you deliver even more impactful in some sense. So anyway, Baca Kucha, Chit Chat, came out of Japan, 1,000 cities around the world. We have 4 in Malaysia, which is really cool. So if you guys are visiting, most of these Baca Kuchas can be found on PTX. So the thing that you guys registered now. So when we started Baca Kucha, we are at Baca Kucha, we've done 4 this year. We've done 4 this year. We started it with a very kind of loose set of rules. We said, rule number 1, whoever we invite to speak, they must be really, really deeply involved in the thing that they do. Like this chap who has a beanie over his head, he is very, very deeply involved in photography. So much so, he builds his own cameras. It's really cool. So, Jeffrey, right?
Jeffrey.
Yeah. So what Jeffrey does is he builds. Have you heard of pinhole cameras?
Yeah.
So the pinhole
Camera
camera, he
obscura.
builds it out of tin, viscose tin. So it's about this big, and it's like really decked up. So he will use because the tin is so big, he will use it as his dark room. So it's a portable dark room and a pinhole camera built into one. Really cool, right? And we want to know, like, from a technical perspective, how he started doing this, from a motivational perspective, how he started doing this, but we give him 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So it's really important that the people we invite, they know what they're talking about. Let me give you the opposite of that. Now, a lot of people do a lot of things that they don't really know what they're talking about. A great example of this are people that have fame. So sometimes celebrities, and I'm not going to mention any specific ones, sometimes celebrities, they pivot their fame, right? So they use their fame for other things. And I think it's great. Like, say, a cause. So they're like, I believe in this cause, and I'm gonna leverage my celebrity for said cause. Now, we typically don't invite people that are celebrities to talk about these causes that they support. The simple reason for this is they're not very aware of the cause. They are kind of, okay, I will just kind of support the cause. So that is the inverse of deeply knowing something that you're talking about. So we said we wanted this kind of people. And the second thing we said is we wanted people from diverse background. Because we've been to all of these entrepreneur events, we've been to all these tech events. They're usually very single-minded and single-focused. It's fun to have people from different verticals talk at the same event, so there's cross-pollination. And that was basically it. We got interesting people from different backgrounds to talk and share, and here we are. The crazier the mix, usually the crazier things that happen. One of our speakers is a violinist. He also makes board games. 25 years ago, he made one board game. It was called Telepaths. And it's still for sale now. It's available in, like, I think 40 different languages. This is a pretty big deal, right? But he is both good at the violin component of his life, and he's good at this board game creation. He has this experience, this deep 25-year experience. He's played with people like the Cranberries, Nickelback, and what he ends up talking about was how one influenced the other and vice versa. It was so fascinating for everybody involved, and everybody involved was like, wow, I didn't know that this person was in the audience. He would come from most Pachakuchas. I did not know that this guy was so interesting. And that opened up interesting opportunities, because some people in the audience on that particular day were game developers. Came together, and now they're building a digital version of said game. And I think this is why cross-pollination is super important. So if you are a little bit low on the cross-pollination in your lives, I think storytelling is a good way, because kind of that's the core of what I'm talking about today. Storytelling is a good way to tell people that you are interested in these things. Because so many of us have so many interesting stories that we don't actually share. I think this is a great slide for this event, because I like 9 years ago when I went for Barcamp JB, there were so many people, 100, 200, just a room full of people. And I didn't go for any Barcamps. Maybe I went for one Barcamp. I think it was in Inti, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2010.
Yeah, in Inti, that was one. Yeah. And there were a lot of people, right? And I almost feel like when so many people they attend events, so many people they participate in this thing, there's almost this this concern that everything must be right, the food must be right on time, the gifts must be right. But for Pachakucha PJ, we don't push for a huge number of people to come. Whoever comes is are the people that are supposed to come. This allows us to try things and experiment. So in Pachakucha 4, for example, I think we are the first people in the whole world to do this. Usually people talk for 6 minutes and 40 seconds, there are slides. No joke, this happened, okay? This lady that was teaching us tea appreciation. She came up and I really had to struggle to tell her, you've got to say words when you come up and you do your pecha kucha. She just wanted to make tea for 6 minutes and 40 seconds while slides played in the background. I'm like, oh, that's too experimental. so we met in the middle. It was one of those experiences that you will remember for a long time because the room was silent. You can hear her pouring the tea, okay? There was a room of 40 people and you can hear her pouring the tea. Great acoustics, by the way, common ground. Just check it out. But more than that, it allows us to just do experimental things. What does this reflect in terms of your storytelling? I feel sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves to tell the perfect story, to tell the story in a way that it's not going to be weird, to have something polished. So I challenge you to be experimental when you're telling your stories. To be okay with it totally failing. Because the moment you're okay with it totally failing, you will be surprised that it won't. So how do we choose people to tell stories, right? We started off by saying, who do we know that's cool? And we made a list, and we kept adding to the list because cool people know other cool people. I'm going to use this slide and I'm going to kind of change it a little bit. I realized in the 4 pecha kuchas that we've run, literally everybody has something interesting to share. Do many of you take Grab and Uber?
Yeah.
Okay, on a regular basis? I think the best expression of that is when you talk to your Grab and Uber driver. Because you don't know them, number one. And number two, you have a really, this moment to talk to them. So I'm going to relate to you tangentially. A fun Uber story that I heard yesterday. So this guy came in, Indian chap, he was like, how are you, sir? He had a very funny way of saying it. It was very like, oh, what's going on here? He says, now I'm driving Uber because I used to be driving buses. I would drive from Kuala Lumpur to Singapore and back and forth. But today I'm driving Uber. Oh, I see. Why is that? About 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I was driving to Singapore, and then when I got to Singapore, I had a little bit of an accident. There was somebody in my blind spot. I knocked a pedestrian. I was like horrified. I was like, oh my god. Suddenly put the safety belt on, hold on to the chair. I'm like, but he was telling it in such a nonchalant way, right? He's like, yeah, I just knocked this person, and you know, the Singapore government, they put me in jail for like 10 days, and you know, it's okay. My parents came over and then they paid this fine. But he's okay. He was just MC for 5 days. He was just MC for 5 days. He was nonchalant about it, right? And it is hard for people to do, right? People they don't offer their stories. Maybe your Uber drivers are a little bit different. But mine, sometimes you got to probe a little bit. Suffice it to say, I got to my destination, okay. He was such an interesting character, right? Which got me thinking, I should just by default record all of my Uber conversations, right? And then I put it up on some blog somewhere because everybody has an interesting story to tell. Sometimes you just have to kind of make them comfortable to tell the story. Maybe you have an interesting story to tell that you have not been comfortable enough to share. I hope that over the next several hours, all of you guys get a chance to share these interesting stories.
Yay.
Cool people meet other cool people. This is a crab farmer who does spiritual meditation. He's a really cool dude. His name is Shankar. His name is not Shankar. His name is Sundar. What happened as a result of him coming to speak is everybody in the audience found out that they don't want to become crab farmers. Because becoming crab farmers is super difficult. Crabs are really naughty creatures. They just want to escape. And they're so good at it. They're so strong. So he got to share his story on TV because of coming. He was sharing his story with another lady who was talking about saris and how she wears saris every day of the week. Which is really interesting, right? That's another expression of storytelling. She wears her story. Why do people wear saris? When she first started, they said it's because you're going for a wedding or there's a ceremony happening. But she says, no, I like saris. So I'm going to wear them every day. So, lady who wears saris, man who farms crabs, they end up catching up, meeting, and as it happens, she runs a TV show. So after doing this for a while, we realized that there was a process that was forming for running Baca Kuchas. It was getting a little bit easier to run these Baca Kuchas because everybody had a responsibility. Gillian over there, she would do the design. I would buy pizza really. I don't do very much. I even found, and this is, I think the process is a question of how lazy can you be, right? So when the lazier you are, the more process appears. So what we realized is we wanted to introduce speakers. Every time I would usually do this, I would like, hey, this is this speaker, he's really interesting because of this. And how I would identify this is I would usually go and check out their Facebook. For example, we had a person who makes tuak. This is rice wine. Okay? He came over and I was like, I don't know anything about him. So I check out his Facebook, stalking a bit. I'm like, oh, he likes to run. He likes to, not run, he likes to hike. Because I saw him hiking on some trails that I've seen before. And I was like, okay. So this is so-and-so, and he likes to hike. Little did I know these pictures were 7 years old. And he was like, not anymore. Okay, so that led me to a process where now every time I introduce a speaker, I just ask them, how would you like to be introduced? Tell me one interesting thing about yourself that everybody knows. Tell me one interesting thing about yourself that nobody knows. And tell me what you're working on that you would like everybody to know about. So these three things, that's how I introduce the speakers. The process kind of comes along the way. It's really important that you don't start the process because the process doesn't appear immediately. It's by doing it, do you see what process happens. By telling stories, you find a better way to tell the stories. Like, I'm trying to limit how much I move because I know I pace a lot and that makes people dizzy. So that's the process that I do. We also realized that it's important to prep the speakers beforehand because some of the speakers, sometimes they have great stories, but it's pretty nonsense what they talk about and how they talk about it. I mean, this is not a reflection that everybody is nonsense. Some people, they speak about their story over and over again, and that practice gives them the confidence to say it. But others, they don't think about, how do I tell this story? They don't have like a format. So we started looking at Baca Kucha speakers. If you're interested in seeing other Baca Kuchas, all of these 1,000 cities, they actually put their presentations up on bacakucha.org. So you can watch it at any time. And you can kind of see what is a good Baca Kucha. And we realized it's really important to have a basic plan when you're telling the story. Because you're going to tell the story in 6 minutes and 40 seconds, right? And the basic plan looks like this. Always identify what you want your audience to take away with. Step 1. Step 2. Identify an underlying story. So this is the main narrative that you're using. And within 6 minutes and 40 seconds, you want to identify 3 interstitial stories. Now, they can be building chronologically. They can be building like how I became, a friend was just talking about Nike, the shoe company, and how it came to be. So he was like, the underlying theme is this person that invented the company really likes shoes. Interstitial story number 1. His coach, mentor, was Olympic athlete that made shoes. So the person who started the company didn't make the shoes. His coach did. Interstitial story number 2. He traveled the world to see how other people make shoes. Interstitial story number 3. Perhaps something like how the name Nike came about. His employee number 1 had a dream. Now, there's much more going on, right? But if I had to tell the story of Nike in 6 minutes and 40 seconds, that would make it for a compelling story, right? Underlying narrative, he likes shoes. So all of the things that he does, if you think about the interstitial stories, they're all related to shoes. Yeah, so that's kind of our plan for telling stories. Why is this important? When we think about it, we realize that if you just tell the underlying narrative, it's very, very dehumanizing. It's like a recipe in a cookbook. But if you ever watch YouTube videos of Gordon Ramsay or whatever, right, and he introduces other parts of his life, you get to know him a little bit, right? Recommendation for those of you that like watching YouTube cooking videos, you got to check out Binging with Babish. 1.7 million subs. Really like cool stuff. And for the ladies, or for guys and the guys, he's a very good looking guy. But he doesn't show his face for most of the thing. His format is here to here, where the cooking is happening. And he has this really deep, sexy voice. He cooks recipes that come from TV shows and movies. It's really cool. Binging with Babish. Now, the reason why I realized that is cool is because it's not just about the underlying thing, which is the recipe. It's about the flavor that he tells the recipe in. It's like his experiences telling this presenting this particular recipe. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Be human about it. I think I talked about this. Okay, so if you guys want to run your own events, this is not so much related to telling stories, but really about the logistics of events. Shout out to the chaps in iLab. Yeah, because sometimes the thing that you want to start off with is the event venue. Because once you source an event venue, right, a lot of the other things can happen. So our venue was Common Ground. We really like them. So this is a sponsor plug, but just generally, if you're going to try and do an event, start with the venue. Yeah, then everything else can come after. I think this is a useful logistic learning. The bento box format we found is very wasteful because people are hungry in different proportions. I know now that Steve Jobs was not the one who said this, but I just remember him for saying it. The future is here, it's just not evenly distributed. The hunger is here, it's just not evenly distributed. So if you're running an event, stay away from bento boxes. Go for stuff that you can apportion, so you can eat as much as you want or as little as you want. So there's less wastage.
Can I add to that? You can share your bento box. You don't have to eat the whole thing.
Nobody wants to share their bento box. I'm like you're a loner like me. I'm like,
that's part of the fun of actually doing it.
Okay, for those of you that cannot finish the burger today.
If I don't get a burger, I'm sharing with you.
Yeah.
If I don't get a burger later, I'm taking your burger.
Oh, you can get mine. It's okay.
So we found that this one a bit expensive and a little hard to portion. This one a little bit cheaper. Bring cups, bring water, a little bit easier. We try selling beer. I don't know, man. Everybody, it's like evening. Why people not buying beer? I also don't really understand. But we thought it's a great idea. And if you guys have some interesting monetization strategies for us, because we would like to sell stuff at this
Sell
thing.
bento box.
Oh, merchandise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's not expensive to tell stories. It just takes money to kind of buy the food and stuff. For those of you that don't already know, we're on PTX. So we just did this art one. Oh, side note, when you're asking people from varied backgrounds to tell stories, don't give them a theme. We thought it was a great idea for Pachakuchas in. We realize now that it's better to just say, you're interesting, you tell us why you're interesting. Because kind of we thought constraint is good, but the 6 minutes and 40 seconds is enough constraint to get people going. So we sell tickets, it's all on PTX. We capture stories. So for those of you who are editors, we have really good audio, we have fairly good video, but we don't know how to edit it. So we capture it, but then we haven't uploaded anything because we're just like dummies when it comes to editing. Like anything in life, you have an ebb and flow of the event. This is what we think is the event flow. People come early and they eat food because people come at different times. And then we go high with some presentations. So first half of the presentation. Then we relax a little bit, let people network and hope to buy beer. They don't buy it. Then we come back, listen to more presentations, and finally we again don't sell beer, but we just ask them to network. It's really important not to become too what's the word I'm looking for? Padat, not too compressed content. If you put too much content, bad things happen. So we tried the first one with 10 people. We tried the second one with 8 people. I think 8 is a good number. 6 is a good number too. 6 allows for more networking. So it's all a question of what you want. Ask people what they wanna. Ask people what they wanna get out of the event, so you can give them that. So if you are telling stories, it's valuable to understand who is in the audience. Oh, yeah. So you should come for Baca Kucha. I know you're not supposed to sell stuff in this thing, but we don't have a Baca Kucha coming up. We just have a few next year. Some interesting highlights. Somebody who's sending a rocket to the moon. Somebody who's been, this is not her, somebody who's been shot in the ass because she was covering a war journalist. She's a war journalist.
She's covering war journalists. Or
she is a war journalist. She was covering, I think she was in Syria, and she got shot in the ass. A Malaysian who makes watches, but they're produced in Sweden. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
I almost guarantee you guys don't know this person. Me? No? Yeah? Okay, good. So if you want to find out, yeah. And somebody who tells stories about dancing. It's really, really entertaining. We have, oh, yeah, because I presented this the last time I asked for help, but I'm going to kind of open up to questions and talking. Is there questions and talking time?
Yeah, no, so again, the format is very democratic. If you feel like you want to pitch in halfway through your talk, it's okay to just interrupt or what. If you feel you want to vote with your feet and you're not interested, it's okay to actually start another session also. But if you have questions, feel free to ask Hakim. We have about
a few minutes. Yeah?
You have about 3 minutes left.
Okay. What's the next one? We don't know yet, but probably first quarter. We want to do one every quarter next year. We're targeting minimum 4, maximum 5.
What's the hardest speaker that you ever deal with?
Cannot name name.
Yeah, cannot name name. That's why I said what.
But there was a speaker that we talked to. He's not
the
very
gender is actually
So he's
not
a he.
sure.
No, they are not very technology. So we send them WhatsApp with a Google Doc link, and they're like, I'll get my people to look at it because I don't do all these Google Docs, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so hard to communicate. Yeah, so communication is really difficult sometimes because you have people from different varying experiences.